Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to be walking through some of the RTCA DO-160 Section 16 DC testing capabilities with the EMTest NetWave. During today's video, we're going to be using the EMTest NetWave Model 7.3, which is commonly just called the NetWave 7.3. And you can see on the rack in front of you, there is a spot open above the NetWave that can be used for a DPA analyzer. We're not going to walk through that during today's video. During this video, we're going to be walking through briefly a little bit about the source. Then we'll take a look at some of the capabilities for DO-160 testing. Then we'll start up the system and take a look at the control software. The EMTest NetWave 7.3 is comparable to other single-phase NetWave models with the exception of a built-in isolation transformer, which is required to perform both RTCA DO-160 as well as mil standard requirements. Now let's go ahead and let's take a closer look at the front side of the unit. Starting from the top of the EMTest NetWave, you will notice a space in the rack, and that's going to be for our EMTest DPA 500N harmonics and flicker analyzer. We're not going to be using that for our video today, so that's just going to remain open. Now just below that, you will see the control section for our supply, and we're going to go ahead and start walking through that, starting from our left side and working our way right. Alright, so starting on the left, you will see three different LEDs, the first of which is trigger, then running, and then power. Just below that, you will see our test on button. Working our way right, you will see the NetWave display. It's kind of a rectangular screen right there. And just below that, a series of buttons. You will see mode, start, stop, some arrow keys, and then setup. We're not going to be focusing too much on those buttons today because a lot of the testing is done through the Net.control software. Now looking just to the right of the display, you will notice a series of output active LEDs. And then finally, on the far right, you will notice our output plugs. Now let's go ahead and let's turn around the unit and let's take a look at some of the connections to the backside of the system. Alright, here's the backside of the EMTest NetWave. This unit can be separated in kind of three distinct sections. The top part of this unit, which is currently empty, that can be used for the DPA 500N. As we mentioned previously, that's not going to be in our video today, but that's where it would sit. Following that, you have the NetWave portion, and you can see it right there. It has a series of fans and connections, and it's kind of right in the middle. And then just below that, you will see the transformer section, and that's going to be kind of the bottom third of it, and that's going to be the largest section as well. We're not going to be walking through each individual section on our EMTest NetWave and each individual connection. There's a lot of different connectors and stuff along those lines. If you need all that functionality, you can go ahead and check out the user manual. I'll put a link in the description, and that's going to allow you to walk through each individual connection. However, there is one we do want you to be aware of, and that's going to be the safety circuit jumper, which is in place. And we'll go ahead and get a quick closer look, and we'll just highlight that jumper briefly. Alright, so taking a look right there, there is the safety circuit jumper. We're just going to highlight that quick right now. That does have to be connected for this system to operate. So if for some reason you're not getting output, you're having issues, just be sure that jumper is inserted. Now let's go ahead, let's take a brief look at some of the capabilities of the NetWave 7.3 for some of the RTCA DO-160 Section 16 DC tests. Here you're going to find the Net.control software by EMTest. If you are renting the NetWave from us, we will provide a laptop with the system that's already going to have this installed and configured, so it's going to allow it to be easily set up with the NetWave. However, if you are installing it on your own PC, it can be a little tricky sometimes, so we would recommend referencing the Net.control user manual. And if you don't have the manual, you can always hit the help button, which is kind of the fourth drop down there in the upper left, and that should take you over to the user manual. Okay, so now taking a look at the display, we have generate, user tests, and reports in the upper left. And as I mentioned previously, we don't have our DPA 500 analyzer communicating with our NetWave. So there's a few other options that can be available if you have that. However, for today's video, we just have the generate options with our NetWave. So taking a look just below the generate, you will see in the green rectangle, starting from our left, we have waveform test, signal generator, and then all the way on the right, we have test flowcharts, link tests, and manage tests. And then kind of working our way right, we have three different gray boxes there. We have power operating mode, which is fairly straightforward, power system, and power supply. Now, as we kind of work our way down, taking a look in the lower right-hand corner, you will see operation mode. We currently have it set online. And then you'll notice we do have our NetWave, which is communicating with our software, and it's indicated as green. Now, should you have any issues getting your NetWave to communicate with your software, what we would recommend doing is referencing that user manual. It can be a little tricky sometimes, so just following those steps is going to make it much easier. All right, so now let's go ahead and let's take a look at some of the tests. As we mentioned previously, we are concerned with the DC tests, so we're going to go ahead and switch that power operating mode from AC to DC. Just like that, and we can leave it at 230 volts for today. All right, and now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to generate. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and hit waveform test, and we're going to look at some of the capabilities that the NetWave offers. All right, here you're going to find the screen for selecting the pre-programmed test routines. You see right here, there's kind of four different main categories in how they split up the different tests. As we mentioned previously, we're doing the RCTA DO-160 Section 16 DC test. That's what we're interested in today. So let's go ahead and let's go over to aviation. Let's go down to international. And we're interested in DO-160. And let's go ahead and let's select revision G. And there you go, Section 16. And there's the three different system options for 14, 28, and 270 volt. And what you have noticed on this menu is none of the AC tests are options here because we do have it in DC operating mode. Now, if you do want to run the AC tests, you just got to switch it over to AC mode. Now let's go ahead and let's look at the 14 volt systems real quick. And you see right there, we do have a variety of different sections for which the NetWave can provide testing for. And you see right there we have 16.6.1.1, and then we have .3b, .3c, and kind of works its way down all the way to 16.6.2.4. And it's a very similar system for the 28 volt right there. You can see right there we have three different categories, category A, B, and C. Well, let's go ahead and let's click on category B again. Perfect, and you can see right there we have 16.6.1.1, and then we go all the way down to 16.6.2.4. Now, when you are ready to go ahead and select and run the associated test, all you have to do is highlight it right there and then hit select. Here you're going to find the waveform test display when you do select the associated tests and the standards kind of library there. And you can see there's a variety of different waveform options in the upper left corner. And then just below that, that's going to be where you kind of click and drop them in place. And then to the right of that, you will see that's kind of our waveform overview. And then just below kind of the waveform display, you will see some of the different criteria that you can modify and make some changes below that. All right, so when you are ready to conduct testing, you see right now we have the power switched off. You'll obviously turn that on, and then you go ahead and you can hit that start button right there. Again, right now it's grayed out, but when you do switch on the power, that will light up green. All right, well, I hope this video has been useful as we've walked through a little bit about the EM Test NetWave, some of the connections to the front and back of the system. Then we went ahead and started up the software, walked through a little bit about the DO-160 Section 16 DC capabilities. And then finally, we kind of walk through a little bit about the NetWave Control software. Please feel free to reach out to us if you're ever in need of any EMC test equipment rentals, including the NetWave 7.3 we used in the video today. Thank you.